Thank you, everybody. This all started in Russia around the turn of the century. My mother's father came from a town called Kozmin. His name was Joseph Middleman, and her mother came from the Kiev area of Russia, and they migrated to the United States around the year 1900. Her father went into business with his brothers in Providence, Rhode Island. They were already here. They ran a butchery. Eventually, he went out on his own. And her mother, my mother's mother, my grandmother was Raina, of whom there's 2 granddaughters named after. Was very entrepreneurial. She eventually established, through arrangements with the United States government, a post office, which is still in the same location in Providence, and they went into the real estate business. Their first daughter was Dora. The first American-born daughter was Dora, who was born in 1912. All right. At that time, it was a century ago, the Republic of China was established that year. And New Mexico and Arizona became the 47th and 48th state.
That's crazy.
That's true.
That's crazy.
That was in the year 1912.
Wow.
That year the Titanic sank and Fenway Park was established. Fenway Park and Dora, Middleman, Cohen are celebrating their centennial this year. Casey Stengel was a rookie with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Cy Young, who had pitched in the World Series, retired that year. Cy Young pitched in what is now Northeastern University. That's where the Huntington Fairgrounds were, and that's where the Red Sox home was at that time. A lot of the culture of the United States blossomed in 1912. W.C. Handy wrote Memphis Blues. Let's see, Senate came up with his film of, all these old films that you see. And Woodrow Wilson was elected president. The National Hockey League got established, all in the year 1912. Meantime, shortly thereafter, my mother wound up at Hope High School in Providence, Rhode Island, where she was a guard.
Basketball guard, right?
Yeah, she was a guard on the Hope High School Lassies. I would have told you that she was a starting guard in an all-star, but she's already told me that I can't say things like that. In her junior year in high school, her mother got sick, and my mother left Hope High School to become a homemaker for her 2 sisters and her brother and her father. A year later, she returned to Hope High School and graduated, and ultimately went on to work for the Attorney General in the state of Rhode Island. She was the belle of the ball. You've seen the pictures of her. And my understanding is that one day that she made a journey to a place called Horseneck Beach, which I think is somewhere near Fall River. Am I right, Nancy?
Westport.
Where is it?
Westport.
Westport.
It is near Fall River.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where she met my father. And they eventually married and moved to Boston, where Stafford and I entered the world. She was a stern taskmaster in bringing the 2 of us up. When I was mischievous or outrageous, I would hear her mutter under her breath that I should go to Pawtucket. And my brother had was equally disciplined. We had a homemaker that worked in the house, and she reported my brother's activities, which were frequently very mischievous, to my mother, who would constantly discipline him, but to protect the homemaker so that my brother wouldn't know that who was really the informant. My brother was told that there was a pin on one of her suits that was a poodle. It was a poodle pin, My brother was told that the poodle was the one that was informing us.
So mischievous. Yeah.
So what Stafford would do was, when he was about to go on one of his escapades that would normally wind up in punishment, he would make sure that the closet door where the poodle was closed. And he would also make sure that the bedroom door where that closet was located was closed. But the poodle had amazing powers, could see from doors. And invariably Stafford would pay the price for whatever it was that he was up to at that moment. And that's how we were raised, but my mother supported us. She encouraged us. She made sure that we ultimately both went to college. we both wound up at what was, it became in effect a family institution to a great extent. And that was at Brown, where Catherine also graduated. And when she was always supportive of us, and she was also helping the family. She worked as a secretary for my father's refrigeration business. She worked as a bookkeeper in my office with my various partners over the years, and she retired when she was in her early 90s. She also helped my brother in his medical practice with his record keeping. She was, of course, remarkably durable. She was also giving, she was loving, she was supportive. She became a sort of a model of the way things should be done. She was a pillar of not only her own family, but my father's family as well. And she ultimately saw her family through and brought us here to today. And I think that Al Jolson had it right when he said that the sun shines east and the sun shines west, but he knew where the sun shined best. And we, of course, would walk 1,000,000 miles for one of her smiles. In any event, I think that what we'd like to pay tribute to what she's accomplished and the contributions that she's made to many of us here in this room. And I would like to lead us in 3 cheers for my mother, and Catherine's going to help me with it.
I'm up here because we're going to all say hip hip hooray 3 times.
That's right. Yeah. It's hip, come on, let's go everybody. I want you to join in. The next tribute is coming from Catherine.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, I think Uncle Stafford and Dad have said this, but thank you everyone for being here today. I know it means a lot to me, and I'm sure it means a lot to my grandmother. I'm honored to stand up here and celebrate Grandma Dora. Today is a celebration of all that you do and all that you are. To me, you are my voice of reason. You are an individual with an unbreakable strength and sense of self. You are a woman of great integrity, morality, and loyalty, and a warm and very supportive grandmother. You are a mentor and a vision of what I aspire to be as you live each day with grace, beauty, and wisdom. Some of my fondest memories are sitting with you in your kitchen table at Chestnut Hill Terrace as you cooked something amazing, and I watched and talked to you. At one time, you helped me analyze the social dynamics and trials and tribulations of being a 2nd grader, and whether I should accept the best friend necklace Molly Levy gave me, even though she didn't really feel like a best friend. We started our dinner dates out at Friendly's, where you would always buy me the kids' sundae, you remember? With the snow cone and the, what is it, whipped cream cheeks? And over the years, we matured to Charlie's Kitchen and the Cheesecake Factory. Nowadays, my Grandma Dora, who is always open-minded to new experiences, will meet me for Vietnamese noodle soup. It's pretty cool. You have always listened and really, really heard me, and imparted your advice after weighing all sides. In the last year, I have been blessed to spend more time with you. The age gap between us has been insignificant because, Grandma, you are really, really smart. So, Grandma, thank you for everything. You are invaluable to me, and I know this sounds weird, but I think you are my greatest blessing. So, happy birthday.
Aunt Dora. And it's not Aunt, it's Aunt. It's actually Auntie Dora. The very earliest photos that exist of me are in your arms on the lawn of your beach house on V Street. I remember fresh lobster dinners, corn on the cob, wicker furniture, waiting for Staff and Herb and Al to get back on the boat, from the boat, and being hosed off both outside the kitchen and then again in that great old bathtub with feet. Remember that bathtub? So that I wouldn't track sand into your house. From as far back as I can recall, you have given me gifts. At age 3, you gave me my first gold jewelry.
Really?
At 5, you knitted me this poodle sweater.
That's so amazing.
To match the one you made for my big sister. 7 years later, on a trip to, I think it was Italy, you brought me these white gloves, white leather gloves. I'm pretty sure you were trying to turn me into a lady. Mixed results. After Fred and I were married, I believe this was the first of many silver serving pieces that you gave me, and I pull it out each year for Passover Seder. It's also good for latkes. And then Danny and Mikey came around, my kids, and you bought them fantastic presents as well. This one has stood the test of time. These magnets, which I now keep in my office, and Charlie Rodvian plays with them every week when he comes to preschool at the JCC. Speaking of which, I think the greatest present that you ever gave to me was introducing my sister to Bob Rodvian, and I am eternally grateful for all the Rodvians to follow. Aunt Dora, you have always shown me by example what it means to have class, to be a devoted sister, to value learning and fine art, to take care of oneself and to travel the world. Like you, Fred and I open our home to people with big hearts and keen minds. And like you, I am passionate about family, politics, and good food. In an effort to live a long and rewarding life, we asked you a few years ago for your secrets. I hope it's okay if I share them now. We sprinkle wheat germ on our yogurt. We sprinkle flaxseed on our cereal. Flaxseed meal, not flaxseed, flaxseed meal. While some people see the cup as half empty and others see the cup as half full, your cup is pretty much always full. You are always feeling better than you did yesterday or last week, and you are always engaged in something. Even today, she said, I'm busy. I have to take care of the flowers that people have sent me. And you're always growing. When I ran away from home as a child, it was to your house. And you welcomed me with open arms. I was a bit befuddled that my bed was already made when I returned from the bathroom, but that was Ethel's doing. About 5 or 6 years ago, we spent a number of days, weeks, maybe months on the phone with you sharing stories of your childhood. Your memory continues to amaze me. Auntie Dora, as you claim that I called you as a child, you have been there for me at every stage of my life, continuing to share your stories, your insights, and your wisdom from the bottom of my heart, and I speak for my whole family. I love you and I thank you for a lifetime of gifts.
That sweater. I spoke to my sister one morning, and my sister was very unhappy because her baby, Joanne, wasn't feeling well. Joanne had a cold, and Joanne was less than 2 years old, so Joanne didn't know that she has to stay in bed. So my sister said, well, if I only had some new toys, maybe that would put her be stationary in bed for a while. So I told her I'll be up this afternoon with some new toys because I had gone into Boston, I had an errand to do, and I went into TW Grams. I think that was the name of the company, and I think for a few dollars, and it was Hanukkah time, for a few dollars I bought a large group, a big group of toys, a xylophone as I remember, and other toys, but I bought them in grants, they were not expensive, but meanwhile I came laden with all these toys, and I presented them to Joanne. And she loved them, and I said to her, and remember, she was less than 2 years old. So I said to her, and who gave you all those nice toys? Auntie Rosie. So I said, I'm Auntie Dora. So I said, say Auntie Dora. She says, Auntie Dora. Auntie Dora. Fine. I said, now, honey, who gave you all these toys? Auntie Rosie. Well, okay, I gave up because I know she was teasing me. And before I left, her birthday was going to be in February, and this was probably December, before February. And I spoke to Irene, and I said, what do you think? I need to buy her something for her birthday. Do you have any suggestions? And Irene suggested several things, and I said, no. Finally, Irene suggested, how about making her a sweater like you made for Raina? I said, are you kidding? I'm going to make that sweater and give it to her, and she's going to tell me Auntie Rosie? No way. So from the bedroom, where little Joanne was lying in bed, I heard Auntie Dora. So I made the sweater. so that's why there were two sweaters, one for Raina and one for her.
Our next speaker is Sandra Greenwald, and she's ready to roll.
I hadn't planned to speak today, but Herb strongly invited me to.
You twisted around.
Twisted my arm, and he just reminded me that 10 years ago, at your 90th birthday party, I recalled a memory of your giving me an engagement party when I was 20. And her friends helped her cook, and the table was decorated with flowers made out of pink Kleenex. Oh. And I think I still have those flowers. What I wanted to remember about today was when I was a kid, maybe 10 or early teens, we used to go to your house for Thanksgiving. And you are the most fabulous cook. You were then too, and you had Ethel with you at the time. And the table was set beautifully, and there were a lot of people there. And I remember drying the dishes afterwards, no dishwasher. Somebody washed and I dried, and the dish towel was getting so wet because there were so many people and so many dishes. And believe it or not, I was shy once. And I was too shy to ask for a dry dish towel. But eventually you noticed that it was almost dripping and you gave me one, so thank you for that. The other memory I have is very recent, where a couple of years ago, Al and I and you subscribed to the New Rep Theater, and we went together. And you kept us up to date on what was going on politically. We keep up to date, but you knew everything. You know what this party was doing and that party, and you had your opinions on all of it. And it was just a pleasure to travel with you and have these discussions and hear about your grandchildren. and to talk about the play afterwards. So I have a lot of good memories. Happy birthday.
I do too. I do too have some wonderful memories.
Thank you. Stick around for another 100.
Well, I've only known my Aunt Dora for about 77 years. But since she's moved to her apartment in Chestnut Hill, we've been able to spend a lot more time with her. She has better hearing than I have. I've got my hearing aids in here now. And we go out to dinner a lot with her, and we know that we will have very interesting discussions about what's going on in the world, because she is very knowledgeable about everything. Things that I remember from the distant past. Visiting her and the family in Nantasket. We'd long drive from Fall River to Nantasket in those days on a Sunday. Spending the day on the beach, and Sunday night supper, which was usually, well, I'll call salmon croquettes. They were salmon patties you made a lot. And for dessert, stewed blueberries, which I loved. And as a little girl, she taught me how to make them. And I made them for my daughters, the stewed blueberries, a lot. Another time, when we moved to Newton, I visited her in her Newton house. I came with my daughter, Emily, who was almost 3.5 years old then. Emily was not toilet trained then. She was stubborn as a mule. So before we left, I put her down on Dora's oriental rug near the front door to change her diaper. Dora came over and looked down at Emily and said, "A big girl like that isn't toilet trained?" Well, she did me the biggest favor by saying that, because Emily was so embarrassed that within about 24 hours she was completely toilet trained.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know if you remember that.
I remember it.
Now, the only thing about Aunt Dora that's not very good for me is that she has the Middleman genes, and I only have the Cohen genes, since she's my aunt by marriage. Now, all of you here that have the Middleman genes should be very grateful that you can celebrate her 100th birthday with her, and probably some of you will be here to celebrate her 105th birthday and maybe even her 110th. So happy 100th birthday, Aunt Dora. We wish you many more happy and healthy years to come.
Well, thank you so much.
I do remember that.
I sure do. And you know, and you were a little short, remember?
Right.
You weren't tall, and you got this baby,
And she was big.
and she was big.
I put her down on the, right there on the oriental rug.
And you have the
I thought she wouldn't see me. So.
I wrote a little piece, and I called it Attributes of Aunt Dora. When I was growing up, the person to consult in matters of good taste was Aunt Dora. And I put some graphics in. Out there. For Dora, taste also included proper behavior. The Cohens weren't to be fully trusted in that regard. For those of you on the Cohen side. After all, she was the only relative whose house had a powder room, a conservatory, and a sunken living room before that was even in vogue. I remember visiting Dora and Al once at their Chestnut Hill home as a young teenager. I don't recall the occasion for the visit, but it included a sleepover. When it was time for bed, I went up the grand polished staircase to Stafford's comfortable room, since he was away at college. Of course, there was a bookcase in his room. And unknown to Aunt Dora, I zeroed in on one of his medical texts, which had a chapter on human sexuality. This was better reading than the then popular pulp paperback Harrison High, if some of you read that, because it came with added diagrams. A few years later, I was in college and unsure what to choose as my major, French or art. This required a consultation with Aunt Dora. Dora determined that French was preferable, since art was a bit too bohemian a major. This turned out well, since I've traveled to France many times, probably 10 times, and spent a year there studying art. You'll have to read the story of that year in my memoirs. Another important influence of Aunt Dora was on my feet, and I have a feet image there.
You should all understand that Leslie's an artist.
By the time I was out of college, I was suffering from foot pain caused by wearing pointy-toed high heels, as many of us were. Again, Dora came to the rescue with her prized foot doctor. I don't remember. Oh. Do you remember his school name?
Dr. Blumenthal.
Yeah. The remedy, wearing larger shoes, was painless and very effective. But possibly the most important of Aunt Dora's attributes is her ability to make and sustain connections with family and friends. We've kept in touch throughout my life, and she has served as a family touchstone and an inspiration for all of us. And her last image is neurons making connections. And it says, keep those neurons firing.
I had recommended a million people to him, and he always used that name. So now I'm telling him, I'm sending him my niece. Don't send her the bill. Please send it to me. He did.
He sent you the bill?
Yeah, well, I told him not to charge you.
Oh my gosh.
To send me the bill. And I said, you know, all right.
Happy birthday to you and more.
They're going to put it here.
She's like, put it in front of me.
She's not sharing.
Maybe move the chair.
Should we lean it?
We move her chair.
Bring it a little more.
Here.
Turn the cake. Turn the cake around.
There we go.
Just turn the cake. Yeah, that's easy. So the cake is in.
Yeah.
And then turn the candle so she can blow them out.
Beautiful.
Is that white chocolate under happy birthday?
So now it's a 001.
Grandma, you gotta make a wish.
Make a wish.
She's wishing for 101.
Make a wish.
Oh, you gotta blow them out, Dora.
She can do it her way.
Dripping when you tell her. Mother, don't do that, it'll drip.
It'll drip on you.
Let her do it.
Yay! She burned her hands. That's third degree. She didn't want to blow on the cake, so it wouldn't drip on the cake.
How's your potty training?
Ah, you're in there. You can't hide. I saw that.
Accidents happen though.
Dora, I just wanted one more time to thank you for the wonderful phone calls and the wonderful support you gave me during a very difficult time in my life. I wouldn't have survived it without you. You're my role model. When I grow up, I want to be just like you.
Oh, never.
Never. About 50 years ago, more or less, Dora invited me down to her beach house in Hull, and it was just really nice down there. A lot of fun to be there. She made it fun. She made it interesting. She made it good. And there were many times that I was invited down, and very happy to be invited down. And I got to enjoy the place so much that in 1979 I bought my own house in Hull. You've been on the porch. You know where it is. And it was because of Dora that I do have the joy of the beach house now. And fast forward to current times. I really enjoy the lunches we have together at Bernard's. Food's good, company is great. You may notice I never get into a political discussion with you because I don't like getting beat up. But you are a continuing joy to me.
I am Matthew, Dora's grandson, and just like several, including Joanne and Howard have mentioned, memories of Nantasket Beach in Hull, Massachusetts favor prominently in my early memory. In fact, my first memory is at that beach house. And luckily for me, many memories thereafter include my grandma Dora. Even when she's not there, I have memories of her because she influences me all of the time. She's been a pillar and a rock for me. She's represented intelligence, good judgment, wisdom, and a whole host of other wonderful attributes. She shared her thoughts with me and opinions when I've asked her for them, and when I've misbehaved, she shared them even when I didn't ask. I have lots and lots of memories, and they're all truly wonderful, and this is an incredibly joyous occasion for me and for my immediate family and friends. Rather, though, than share my memories with you, I'm going to share your memories with everyone here. About a year ago, Adam interviewed you for a social studies project, and I just happened to dig up a copy of that transcript, and we will represent it here. Adam will be Adam, and Nicole will be Dora. Coming up.
This is fun.
What we have here is two great-grandchildren. But you wouldn't.
Hi, Grandma Dora.
Hi, darling.
How did your family come to America?
My folks came over from Russia for economic reasons. My father already had 2 brothers over here.
And what economic reasons made them come?
Well, my father was married and had a child, so it was hard to survive because he lived in a small town and he worked in the family business. And it could not support them. And meanwhile, his brothers were saying, come to America, so he came.
So what were your favorite things to do when you were a kid?
I loved to listen to storytelling at the synagogue on Sunday. And I liked to play basketball and other sports. I was on the team in high school. I liked to embroider and play on the piano.
What was your favorite piece to play?
My favorite was humoresque.
What kinds of pop music and fads were around when you were a kid?
Al Jolson was a popular singer. I liked him a lot. Eddie Cantor was also a pop singer in those days. There weren't really any clothing fads back then. No Abercrombie or Fetch or stuff like that. Just nice clothes. I tell you, it was a lot more reasonable than stuff today.
What were your favorite clothes?
We did not wear slacks, only skirts and dresses and blouses, no slacks. My favorite things to wear were these pretty sweaters my mom made. I would alternate them with dresses.
How was it being a young woman during the Depression?
Well, we still did things. It hurt some people, but I was okay. It didn't really affect me. It hurt my parents because they invested in real estate. They lost $250,000 in the Depression. It was really bad, but we pulled through.
So did you have to help them, or were they able to pull by themselves?
No, they did not need my help. They lost the investment, but they were the same people that they were before. My father still had the business.
What was your father's business?
He had a meat market.
I'm going to ask questions about family culture now.
Okay.
What do you think is at the center of our family culture?
We have togetherness, love, honesty, and respect in our family. But the center of our culture is education.
How were these cultural values emphasized when you were a kid?
Well, in my instance, we as children were taught to make decisions utilizing these principles, and our parents respected our decisions. My parents held us to a high standard.
How has our family culture changed since you were little?
Oh, well, in my personal life, it hasn't changed.
But, how did it change around you?
Well, I think the culture around me has changed to a lower standard. Politics have changed, business ethics have changed.
How do you think Judaism ties into our family culture?
Well, I think that Judaism teaches us a high standard. It teaches us to be tolerant, supportive, and sympathetic and understanding to other people we come into contact with. That's a high standard.
What do you like best about our family culture?
I would say love and support.
How did our family culture come to be?
I think it probably started with love.
Well, I like that part of our family culture because I love you.
I love
Well, I guess that's it for the interview.
Oh, really?
Thank you so much for doing this for me, waiting for me to type for long periods of time, answering questions. I'm seriously grateful for you talking to me over the phone.
My pleasure, honey. Anytime.
Bye.
Bye.
We are most thankful for the memories. Happy 100.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marie.
I already hugged you, but I'm going to do it again.
I love it.
Love you, Grandma.
I love it.
I love you.
I love you too, dear. Thank you. You did it.
You're welcome. I tried.
There's a lot I could talk about tonight. The great sense of values that I've learned from Dora over the years, the need to be interested in the world around you, how she was way ahead of her time in understanding the benefits of walking and eating well, and her wonderful taste. We have a stereo cabinet in the living room of our house from Dora's old home, and Dora had it custom made, and it's a magnificent piece, and it's the only thing in our whole house that ever gets a compliment. Fortunately for me, I don't think any of Dora's good taste was inherited. And of course, there's also Dora's cooking, be it matzo balls, jello molds, or that shrimp and artichoke dish that appeared over many Thanksgivings. The point is that there's so much that could be said, and so many people here tonight that I will try and keep things short. Although this is a great day and achievement, as few people ever enjoy the longevity and quality of life that Dora continues to enjoy, for me, it's less about the milestone of being 100 and more about the benefits. What I mean is that I have not been much concerned about my grandmother's age, and I don't think she has been either. What I have valued is to have Dora with me as a grandmother, with her wisdom and wit from my early childhood to what is now middle age. That she took care of us as children when my parents were out of town, came to all our birthday parties, hosted wonderful Passover seders and other holiday meals, and fast forwarding a couple of decades, joined us in Japan for my wedding reception and a week of travel. I feel fortunate that Wakako has gotten to build a relationship with Dora, and that Kenji and Mika have known the joy of having an active and engaged great-grandmother. For me, this is the blessing that matters, not one of age, but one of being able to be there for life's meaningful events.
Well, I'm Deborah Cohen. I'm Dora's daughter-in-law. And Dora is truly, truly a mother to me, but not a mother-in-law. And it's, how do you learn to be a mother? You model yourself after others, and you follow your heart. Dora is a remarkable mother, mother-in-law, grandmother, and great-grandmother. Wow, what a bunch of titles. She showers us all with love, understanding, patience, and tolerance. I am so grateful, but so grateful to be in your family. Living life fully is all in your attitude, and Dora's is amazing. She is happy to do for us and never complains of the work involved. Now, I want to know, how many of you people here, how many of you know of a 100-year-old great-grandma that still makes the chicken soup and matzo balls for Passover?
And the jello.
And the jello. But what she says, which is so great, is I'm so happy to still be able to do it. She is independent, resilient, and spirited. She organizes her own life and enjoys many, many activities. She is always stimulating company. Mom, you are an absolute inspiration.
Thank you.
And I can't tell you how much I love you and admire you.
Aunt Dora has always been the fancy and elegant aunt. When I was growing up, she was the one who the women in the family went to for advice about fashion. From her, I learned about style, good taste, and everything else about being a lady. To this day, she continues to be a true fashionista. 4 years ago, at our son's engagement party, I complimented her on how beautiful she looked. She was wearing one of the most magnificent jackets I had ever seen. Upon hearing my compliment, she responded with, "My jacket is Armani, you know." Only my Aunt Dora, at the age of 96, could wear an Armani jacket, and to this day she continues to share her beauty, grace, and wisdom with us all. Aunt Dora, I thank you for being you. I only wish we were the same size.
So we're sitting at the table earlier and we started remembering things. And this isn't part of the speech I was going to talk about, but I remember one of the Passover dinners we had at your house. Our side of the family never made it at Thanksgiving. But you served an eggplant dish. And all the other sisters wanted the recipe, but you couldn't give it to them because you made it in your microwave. You were the first person I think that had a microwave and you cooked it for like 90 seconds or something. But I might have my year mixed up because Raina said you were 96 at the engagement party. I thought you were 95. I can't remember, but this is, I wrote Aunt Dora at 95, maybe it was 96. Here's when, Herbert, this is when you come in. We were sitting on the sofa at Raina's house, celebrating Mitchell's engagement, Heather, when Aunt Dora said, "I finally did it." "What did you do, Aunt Dora?" asked Paula. Paula's my wife. "Well, I finally quit working for Herbert." I asked him 7 months ago if he was planning to retire, and he said probably in 6 months. Well, it was 7 months, and I asked him again, and he said he wasn't ready to retire. I said, "I am." I got a box, put all my things in it, and quit. After all, I have more important things to do. I have to go to my personal trainer 3 times a week, and I want to play cards with my friends. I hope you're still going to that trainer.
With all your beautiful
relatives, I have the joy of being a friend and a bridge player with a brilliant lady who I appreciate very much. And it is a delight to meet your beautiful family. Dear Dora, so many of the things that make life more meaningful are the things that I see in you. Like being the kind of person who makes others happy just for being around you. Like knowing just the right thing to say at just the right time. Like appreciating time spent with your family and friends and getting joy out of giving of yourself to others. You're the kind of person who makes everyone want to celebrate the day that you were born. And I just want to wish you a birthday that's a one of a kind, as wonderful as you are. Happy birthday with love, Shirley.
The most extraordinary thing in the past 10, 15 years is the evenings we've had with Aunt Dora. I mean, we constantly had dates. We went out, and she'd usually select a restaurant, and the conversation was never superficial conversation. As a matter of fact, you had to be well-read to have dinner with Dora. And Dora would discuss things that nobody remotely near her age would be aware of. And the conversation couldn't get to be gossipy. She wouldn't allow that, especially if it came to discussing anything about the family. I mean, it had to be very, very straight. But she is one of the most remarkable people that I know. And I am so proud to be her nephew. Love you.
Thank you so much.
Anyway, Dora, I always remember the days when we would visit you at your home, and at that time we were a little smaller, and we always looked up to that house. It was like a castle to us. And you'd walk into that house and everything was impeccable. Your hospitality was fantastic. And I took a particular interest in all the antiques that you had there. And boy, I used to look at them, look at them, look at them. And I finally turned into a lifelong antique collector. Probably because of much of your influence. And Diane and I, my wife, we came from Maryland, and we really appreciate celebrating this birthday with you. And thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
I've only known Dora for about 10 years, and she's a shining light in my life. When I think of what I want to accomplish and what I'd still like to do in life, I think of Dora, because she's an example. She's an example, and to many people who love her, and there are many, we listen to every word. We've grown, and we've learned so much from you. Be well. We need you.
Well, I'll give the last tribute. I am Dora's baby. When she was much younger, I recall her, and very happy, as she continues to be, I remember her saying, you know, I'd like to live forever. Mother, so far so good. And more recently, very recently, she said, you know, if I knew I would live to be 100, I would have taken much better care of myself. Now I must say, I've had a few wines, and I usually speak extemporaneously, but I sort of anticipated I would, and I wrote this up. This is my tribute. Her good luck has been our good luck. Herbert and I grew up with wonderful role models who imparted their values by example. We grew up with the work ethic, with value on education, with parental encouragement that promoted self-esteem and self-determination. Let's face facts. It is usually the mother that is the major socializing force in a family. She is the one that is the major guiding force if a youngster is on a path towards juvenile delinquency. Mother is the one that can redirect her child towards a career path that upholds the law. Where was Whitey Bulger's mom when he needed her? Huh? Where was she? Now, I really have sympathy for young mothers. Mothers are the ones who encourage, rather than discourage, creative ideas. On the other hand, most mothers nowadays are happy if their kids have any ideas. Who's to know what they're thinking? Between their texting, talking on cell phones, and playing computer games. Having a mother like mine is something most kids can really only dream about. I was lucky. Well, happy birthday, Mom. Much love, and may the afterglow of this evening last and last and last. Okay, now it's, you'll have to say a few words.
Oh, gee, I lost my notes.
You lost your notes?
They were here somewhere.
The guest of honor is supposed to come on. Mother, come on.
My turn?
Yep, sure.
After all that. I want to thank Herbert and Stafford and Debbie for arranging this celebration.
Catherine.
What?
And Catherine too.
No, I didn't say Catherine, I said Herbert. And Debbie for arranging this celebration. So my big birthday, and including all my nearest and dearest. And thank you, Catherine, for designing and mailing those beautiful invitations. And thank you all for coming from near and from far to celebrate this occasion. Some of you came from the state of Washington, California, Nevada, Florida, Maryland, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. No, just talking about countries, not the states. I should say Brooklyn, Mass. So I'm really very grateful, very, very grateful. Also, I want to tell you that very frequently I am asked my secret of how did I reach advanced age. Well, next year I'll tell you. Also, I'd like to tell you that I tried to guide my life with the values that were taught me as a child, and also some of the values that I gathered along the way. And some of the values I'll talk about. Very commonly known as do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Be gracious and be generous with your thank yous and your compliments to those who are deserving. Okay, because you look at my notes. Just remember, I go this way once. Never be jealous, never. The cup should always be half full. Tonight, my cup runneth over. And I wish for all of you to reach the age of 100 plus with good health. And next year I can say it, I can't say it this year. Make it to 100, the rest is easy.
Yeah.